Hey, how's it going, folks? Thanks for watching. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and click the little bell if you'd like to be notified of my posts first. So I'm following the Bruce McArthur case, and just as we suspected, they have added an 8th murder count. So the photo that was released for the gentleman that they could not name, that they received, well, they kind of confiscated the photo from Bruce McArthur's computer, and that's how they found out about this other gentleman. His name, Karushna Kumar, and I can't really say the last name. It's a really long one. What's really interesting about this one, though, is that he actually has no ties to the LGBTQ community. So he has no history of being in the gay community at all, which seems to be the common denominator between all of the other murderers. So, or the victims that were murdered, you know. So it's interesting that this gentleman had nothing to do with that community and yet was still a victim of Bruce McArthur's. So here's what I'm wondering now. How many more of these people are possibly out there that they're looking back on? Because they're still looking back on, like, I think from the 70s. They're gone all the way through the 70s, probably I think from mid 75 or something, all the way into the 80s, all the way into the 90s, all the way into 2000s. I mean, we've got a ways to go yet. He was just caught in January of this year. So, and I mean, the police are still trying to determine the exact cause of death in each victim, which is sad because there's just no real end to this unless he is going to confess and tell us what he did. There's a chance that we may not ever find out what his motive was, what happened, you know, what he used, how he did things. He may never open up about this, and we may always be kind of searching for some answers, which is really, really sad and unfortunate. So 8th murder charge up on the block for Mr. Arthur, and yeah, this gentleman, Mr. Kumar, I'll call him. He moved to Canada from Sri Lanka in 2010. And like I said, there's no evidence that he was ever tied to the LGBTQ community. So it's going to be interesting to find out who else might be a victim in this situation from this gentleman, Bruce McArthur, and how we're going to maybe find out what the cause of death was for each one of these people to try to get some closure for all of these family members that have lost somebody. You know, there's aunts and uncles and brothers and cousins and all kinds of people connected to these people that were murdered. So let's try to get them some answers if we can. If you know anything out there, please contact the GTA, Greater Toronto Area Police Department, and just give them your tip and your information. Nothing is too small, so please, even if it is something very, very minute, please come forth with that. I'm sure that they could use that information. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Give my video a thumbs up for me, and please subscribe to my channel. Click the bell if you'd like to be notified of my posts first. Have yourself a great day, folks, and stay safe out there. Bye for now.
Well, we're still working through any outstanding missing persons occurrence in Toronto. We're still working through quite a few cold cases, murder cases from Toronto. But obviously, you're right. This does create basically a wide open net. And we've had lots of calls, international calls, since our pleas began for people who just haven't seen family members in years. And I'll reiterate, if you have any information whatsoever that can help us out and somewhere that you'd like us to look, then give us a call and let us know about that. We can't have the information if people don't provide it to us.
You said last week that you had at least the remains of 7 people pulled from the planters. Do you still think that you might have the remains of more people, or do you think that you've identified all of the remains now?
I don't know yet. As I've stated before, these remains are dismembered. Actually putting these remains together and definitively linking one part of the remains to another is still a work in progress.
So is it puzzling to you that this last alleged victim that you've identified doesn't fit the profile of the others, that all had this connection to the village, even if some of them were leading a double life? At least we knew they had contacted McArthur through perhaps a gay society.
Well, it's like I said, it's definitely something that we're still looking at to see if we can make that connection. I don't know if we ever will, but the fact of the matter is that we do have his remains positively identified in the same planters as all the other victims. So,
is this consistent, Detective Sergeant, with, there was a theory out there, and I apologize if it wasn't you, but someone that he would, McArthur would allegedly look for people who would be less reported missing, perhaps less quickly, or had less ties to the community, perhaps victims who would be more isolated?
That's a possibility. I think there's enough information out there on the backgrounds of most of these individuals that people can draw their own conclusions on that. So whether it ever becomes an issue in court or not, I don't know.
You said it was a second burial site of some kind. Is that correct? That you identified all seven of the, you identified 7 remains in the planters. That leaves one person whose remains not there. Do you think there is a second location?
Well, I don't know if the remains of that one person are there or not. We're looking at more locations. We've got a lot of searches still to do. I stated last week, as the weather gets warmer, we are going to search more locations, and whether we find anything else or not, I just don't know yet.
Detective, in previous news conferences, you've talked about having to go further and further back in older and older cases. Can you just talk about that a little bit in terms of how far back are you looking, what kind of cold cases and kind of missing persons with those kind of timelines?
Well, I said last week that we're looking at a series of cold cases from the 1970s. I believe the earliest one is 1975. There was a gentleman here last week who brought up some cases from 1967 and 1968. We're not looking at those ones. We're aware of them, but we're not looking at them. So right now, the furthest back we're going to is 1975.
What does that tell you, Detective Sergeant? Do you think there are going to be more victims?
Well, that's a great question. I think we've all seen in the media so-called experts who tell us that serial killers don't start in their late 50s and their 60s. But then again, if we listen to these experts, we'd be looking for a brown-skinned 35-year-old male, and that simply isn't the case, obviously. So harking back to what we said in 2013 and in late 2017, right now I have no evidence that would link Mr. McArthur to any murder earlier than Scandinav Ratnam's murder.
Are you saying at some point you'll have to stop? At some point you have enough? I mean, or are you giving yourselves as investigators a time frame? You said at the end of summer, early fall. At some point this has to go to trial.
The court process is underway. I've always felt that if we could get these remains identified and lay the charges relevant to those remains, that's a very good starting point, and we'll let the Crowns proceed with that. And if we start making links to historic cases and can establish reasonable and probable grounds on some historic cases, we'll probably keep that separate. I'll leave that decision up to the Crown attorneys. But obviously there's a process that's underway and it has to remain underway, and this set of evidence fits very nicely into that ongoing process. So.